Hey folks, this is Kevin Knebl in beautiful Monument, Colorado, and I'm so excited to be with you here this evening on my monthly social selling and relationship marketing webinar. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy day to tune into this live. For those of you that are watching this in the future on YouTube or somewhere else, hello people from the future. So let me just do a couple of housekeeping things first. I have noticed over the last week or two that some of the go-to-meeting sessions that I've been conducting with some of the webinars I've been doing and also with some of my private coaching clients have had some technical difficulties. So if at any point in this evening's webinar the audio gets choppy or anything weird happens, could you please type in the chat box and let me know that that's happening? I always try to keep one eye on the chat box. It's a little tricky because you're toggling screens. But please let me know if something goes funky. I would want to know that, see if we can work around that. If for some reason you lose the screen, occasionally there will be somebody who says, I can no longer hear it or I can no longer see it, and it's just one person. And but if it's something that's affecting everybody, I would certainly want to know that as soon as possible. So what we're going to do this evening is we're going to run through some content. And then at the end, I'm going to make a very special offer, and then I'm going to turn off the recording button, and I'm going to make another offer that is not for public broadcast. So when we get to the end, don't jump off the webinar until you're sure that I'm done, because after I stop the recording, I will, for those of you still live on the call, I will make another very, very unique opportunity that you can take advantage of. So. And Hugh from Florida is on the call. So, hey, Hugh, great to have you here. So, okay, folks, so let's kind of jump into it real quick. What we're going to cover tonight is I'm going to talk about LinkedIn endorsements and LinkedIn recommendations. Now, this is the 6th monthly webinar that I'm conducting this year in 2016. And each of these webinars is 1 hour in length. Some months I go a little bit over, but about an hour. And they're about 1 month apart. So this is the month of June, so we're up to number 6. So this is the 6th hour of free content that I am delivering for anybody that sees value in it. Okay, so again, thank you so much for your attention and your interest. And but we have a lot of content that we can cover because I have programs that are in excess of 17 hours of recorded programs already that are already in the can, available on my website. This is hour number 6 of this year that I'm doing. Up till now, we've covered a lot of ground on LinkedIn. Now, this is a social selling and relationship marketing webinar, which means it's not all about LinkedIn. Up till now, everything we've done has been about LinkedIn. But at some point here, I will shift gears, and we will go into Twitter. We will go into my high-tech, high-touch relationship marketing system. We will go into some other avenues, but for today, we're still on LinkedIn, which is fine. If you've gone through the 6 webinars that I've delivered up till now, either live or in the recordings, you've already probably had, let me just make a statement that might sound, excuse me, might sound a little bit strong, but I would tell you it's completely accurate. If you've gone through the 6 hours of free training that I'm delivering to you, you already know more than over 90% of the people that are on LinkedIn about how to most effectively use LinkedIn. It's not because these other people are stupid. They're certainly not. It's just that most people do not invest the attention and the time into learning all the nuances of how to use a site like LinkedIn. And again, because this is what I've been doing pretty much every day for 13 years, I've seen the evolution. Just for those of you that are new to this and have not heard me before, I'll just give you a quick 60 seconds on who I am, just to kind of flesh out what that comment that I just made. My name is Kevin Knebl. I'm an international speaker, author, coach, and consultant. I'm based out of Monument, Colorado, which is just north of Colorado Springs and about 50 miles south of Denver. I literally live at the top of a 7,500-foot high mountain. I'm looking out my window right now. It's 6:06 p.m. on a Tuesday evening in June, and it is absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous out. Going to be lots of stars in the sky tonight. I speak all around the world. I speak in about 1 city per week somewhere on Earth. It could be in Australia, London, San Francisco, Miami, Toronto. I speak all around the world. I do a lot of speaking. I do a lot of training. A lot of organizations ask me to come and train either live in person or remotely through web-based training. I do a lot of coaching, both in terms of social selling and relationship marketing, and I also do a lot of coaching outside of the realm of social selling and relationship marketing, more in the life and executive coaching realm that has nothing to do with social media. And I also do some consulting. I have a number of individuals and organizations that ask me to consult with them either individually or organizationally for many different reasons. It could be sales, it could be networking, it could be social media, it could be any number of different things. So that's kind of what I do. LinkedIn launched on Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May, 2003. So as of this month, LinkedIn is 13 years and 1 month old. And ironically, I got on LinkedIn in July of 2003, so I've been doing this kind of work since 2003. So I mean, I've been doing this longer pretty much than anybody on earth. Prior to doing this kind of work, I was in sales. I was blessed to be the top salesperson in the world for 4 different organizations, so I kind of have the black belt in sales. I don't say that to be cocky, I just say it because it's true. So a lot of people that are in the social media world come from marketing backgrounds, and I am in no way putting down anybody with a marketing background, but having a sales background is fundamentally different than having a marketing background. So that my audiences have told me over the years that the way that I teach how to use these tools is very different than the way they've been taught from other people. Not because I'm any better or because I'm someone like Buddha, I just come from a different background. So that's my background, folks. Enough about me. So we're going to talk tonight about endorsements and recommendations. And again, we've talked up till now on many things. Profile optimization. We've talked about accepting LinkedIn invitations and how to tag them in a way that's effective. We've talked about using LinkedIn's advanced search features and how to approach people without ever being slick, salesy, awkward, or creepy. We've talked about the alumni feature. We've talked about how to leverage the Who's Viewed Your LinkedIn Profile feature. We've talked about lots of stuff over the last 5 or 6 hours. And again, you can always go back and watch the other videos on my YouTube channel if you want to go back and review that. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to cover LinkedIn endorsements and recommendations. And then I think if I cover that sufficiently, I think I'll open it up then to any Q&A, because for the people that are live on the call right now, on mute, but you're still on the call, if you have specific questions that I can answer for you, I'd be happy to answer them for you. So let's talk about endorsements and recommendations. Your LinkedIn profile is your electronic digital business card, in addition to your website. If you're on this call tonight and you own a business or you have a website, obviously your website is your digital business card also. But if you're an employee or you don't have your own specific website, then LinkedIn is pretty much your de facto business card. And just like our parents told us many years ago, you only have one chance to make a good first impression. That's actually more true now than many years ago, because many years ago, you pretty much made first impressions face-to-face. But now, anybody with a cell phone or a computer could type your name into Google or LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Pinterest or Snapchat or whatever, and they could kind of check you out. Now, I am in no way talking about stalking. I'm just saying that if I want to go check out Hugh Little, who's on this call and who's a good friend of mine, I could go type Hugh's name into LinkedIn. And if I type his name in here, it's going to pull up. There he is. There's Hugh. So it's going to pull up some information about you. And this guy is, if you're on this call and you're looking for help with sales, this is a great guy to go to for some coaching or some consulting or there's different ways that Hugh helps people and organizations. But this guy through here is an absolute class act and a black belt at sales without being slick or salesy. So when I look at Hugh's LinkedIn profile, it's going to tell me a lot about Hugh. And the first impression on Hugh, one way or another, hopefully Hugh is delivering the right first impression. And he is. But most people aren't. Most people's LinkedIn profiles really are not clearly and accurately conveying the credibility and the value that the individual delivers. So if you want to go back and watch my video from last month, May 2016, that video, that 1-hour video, is all about how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. So your LinkedIn profile is a snapshot of who you are and the value that you deliver, and you're trying to get people's attention to make them interested in learning more about you. Well, where I'm going with this thinking is that when I got on LinkedIn 13 years ago, I noticed that there was a feature on LinkedIn called LinkedIn Recommendations. And LinkedIn Recommendations are where people can write testimonials about you, which you can review before you allow them to be put on your LinkedIn profile. So if you think about what I just said there, you would never allow any recommendation or testimonial that was not glowing to show up on your LinkedIn profile. I mean, if Hugh Little wrote a recommendation for me that said, Kevin is horrible at sales, he's got a receding hairline, he's got a face for radio, don't ever hire this guy, which I don't think Hugh would ever do that. But if he did, I probably would not post that on my LinkedIn profile because, so the good news is you have complete control over what shows up on your LinkedIn profile. So I figured out early, because of my background in sales 13 years ago when I started using LinkedIn, I said to myself, wait a minute, if I can have clients and former bosses and former or current coworkers or anybody that's in a position to say something nice about what I do, the value I deliver, boy, if I had the ability to have that on my LinkedIn profile, that would be really handy to have, because now if I can direct people to my LinkedIn profile, as many people as possible, specifically people that are thinking about doing business with me, or let's say I have a job interview back from when I used to have a job, or let's say somebody's looking to hire me for a speaking engagement now or a coaching engagement now. If I can direct them to my LinkedIn profile, then they can go look at those LinkedIn recommendations. So I don't see, because if you and I say to people, hey, I'm really good at what I do and you should hire me, well, that's kind of arrogant. That's kind of cocky. But if somebody else says, hey, I've done business with Hugh before, or I've done business with Consuelo before, or Deborah under-promises and over-delivers and knocks it out of the park, Deborah can't say that about herself because it would be taken as a cocky statement. But if somebody else says it about Deborah, well, that's absolutely fine. So when I first started using LinkedIn 13 years ago, I said to myself, I'm going to get as many recommendations on my LinkedIn profile as I possibly can, because that way people can see that they've had a good experience of working with me. Now, what's interesting about the world of social media, and there's a statement, some of you may recognize the statement, it goes, there's nothing new under the sun. I think that was originally in the Bible. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But when you hear the statement, there's nothing new under the sun, that's pretty accurate. There's just variations of things that are kind of new. So in the old days, we used to use a word called reputation. Your reputation, and then there's another statement, your reputation precedes you. Well, what I'm describing right now is a way that your reputation can precede you, so that when someone goes and looks at your LinkedIn profile, and let's say that you do have a really good LinkedIn profile, and it really clearly and accurately conveys who you are, what you do, the value you deliver, that's wonderful. If you have that going for you, you're way ahead of most people on LinkedIn. But if you also have thousands of people endorsing you and lots of LinkedIn recommendations, well, that's a game changer. Because now it's not only, hey, this guy has kind of positioned himself well by making a good LinkedIn profile. He has lots of other people also saying that he walks on water and that they're glowing. So does this make sense, folks? Somebody type in the chat box and let me know that this makes sense. So I'm giving you the philosophical reasons why it makes a lot of sense, thanks to you that are typing yes in the chat box. Thank you so much. Okay. And Hugh's reminding me that term, there's nothing new under the sun, is from Ecclesiastes in the Bible. Okay, so I nailed it, so that's good. So it just makes sense that if people can see that other people have experiences with you, that's going to make your job easier in terms of bringing on the new client, getting the engagement, securing a job, or whatever it is you're trying to do, okay? So here, matter of fact, I believe so much in what I'm telling you that I actually put in my headline. You have 120 available characters in your LinkedIn headline. I actually use part of my characters in my headline to showcase. Now, to my knowledge, I could be wrong about this, but I don't think I am. To my knowledge, I have more LinkedIn recommendations on my LinkedIn profile than anybody else on earth. Now, really let that sink in for a second. There's 440 million people on LinkedIn, 2 to 5 new people up per second. Some of you may have noticed yesterday that LinkedIn just announced that they're being acquired by Microsoft. Well, that was news to all of us. So there's soon going to be a Microsoft entity or a business unit of Microsoft. That's interesting. But there's 440 million people on this site, and I actually have more recommendations than anybody. Now, again, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying it because I kind of had the foresight years ago to say, if I can have almost anybody that's had a good experience with me put on my LinkedIn profile some explanation of what that experience was, that can only serve me very, very well. So sometimes people will say to me, Kevin, you know, you come highly recommended. We would like you to speak at our conference. And I, of course, say thank you and all the appropriate things. And they usually want to know 3 things. Number 1, what would it cost to get you there? What's your fee? That's what they're asking me. Number 2, are you available on this particular day? And number 3, do you have 2 or 3 or 5 handwritten client testimonials from people that are saying that you do a good job? And I say, well, I can tell you what the investment would be. By the way, I never use the word fee for what I do. There's a little sales tip for you listening right now. If you call what you do a fee, you're equating yourself with a cup of coffee. I pay a fee when I go to Starbucks to get a cup of coffee because I get no return on the coffee other than a drink, which goes through my system. But if I make an investment in training that will give me an ROI or a return on the investment. So when people call me and ask me, Kevin, what's your fee? I always say I don't have one. And they say, Kevin, does that mean you're free? Oh, no. There's an investment for the results that you'll get as a result of my training. And if you notice, my language is completely different than most people in sales because I don't equate myself with most people in sales. I didn't become the top salesperson in the world for 4 different companies by thinking and acting like the average salesperson. Again, I'm not trying to be cocky or arrogant, but there's no way if you're ever going to become the top salesperson for one company, let alone 4, if you're doing all the same things that all the other broke salespeople are doing. So you need to look at what you're doing. You need to look at how you're conveying the value that you deliver. So for me, I started asking in a very intrusive way, and I'm going to show you in this webinar this evening exactly how I do it. But I'm starting off by showing you that I believe so much in what I'm saying that when somebody goes to my LinkedIn profile and they can see that I have over 1,870 LinkedIn recommendations, that's pretty mind-boggling to most people because they go, oh my God, I don't even have 5 on my LinkedIn profile. This guy's got 1,800, okay? So if we go down my LinkedIn profile, and we'll get to the endorsements later because in my opinion, they're not nearly as important as recommendations, but we'll cover them in this webinar. When we go down to my LinkedIn profile, in here you can see that I have 1,762 individually handwritten testimonials, also known as recommendations, just in this position alone. If I click on this, we can see more of them. Okay, and I could literally read every single one of them if I wanted to. So could anybody else, okay, because they're public. You can see who wrote it, when they wrote it. This was written yesterday, June 13th. Jennifer wrote this. June 1st, Jacqueline wrote this one. June 1st, Roger. And if I clicked on any one of these people's names, I would pull up. So this is not anonymous, folks. Not like you have the ability to create all these fictional testimonials. You can actually see that this guy wrote this testimonial for me on May 19th, and I can go click on his LinkedIn profile. So this is powerful stuff, folks. So when we look at my profile, you can see that in my current position, I have 1,762 recommendations. Then in my other positions, I've got recommendations. I have 1 in this position. I have 19 in this position. I have 25 in this position. I have 5 in this position. I have 4 in this position. I have 56 in this position. So this is why I'm telling you what I'm telling you, folks. I'm telling you that one of the reasons why you want to have every current and previous position in your LinkedIn profile, because this confuses people. When I teach people how to make your LinkedIn profile look good, and I say put down every position you've ever held since high school or college that you didn't get fired from. I'm just taking a sip of my water. People often say to me, Kevin, I don't want to put down a position I had 20 or 30 years ago. People are going to know I'm old. And I say, they already know you're old. Look at your picture, okay? These are the jokes, folks. But you have the ability now to go looking through LinkedIn for your former coworkers, your former bosses. You should be connecting with those people for numerous reasons. One of the reasons why you should be connecting with former coworkers, managers, whoever, people that reported to you, is because a lot of those people will be in a position to write you a LinkedIn recommendation, and you can write one for them too. Doesn't that make sense? Somebody type in the chat box, okay? If Consuelo and I used to work together 20 years ago, and we had a good experience with each other, we don't hate each other's guts, it would be really simple for me to send Consuelo a message. Hey, Consuelo, would you be so kind as to write a brief recommendation of your work experience of working with me? I'm in the process of writing one for you right now. Now, you would never ask somebody for a recommendation if they're not in a position to recommend you. That may sound obvious, but let me tell you, folks, I have a lot of people that email me and say, Kevin, would you write a LinkedIn recommendation for me? And I don't even know who these people are. Now, sometimes they do it innocently because there is a button that if you hit it by mistake, it will ask everybody in your LinkedIn network to write a recommendation for you. You don't want to hit that you don't want to hit that button, okay? So let me show you how I do this, okay? Because I'm a speaker, I tend to be much more visible in the public eye than a lot of other people, just by the nature of what I do for a living. So when I'm on stage and I'm delivering a speaking engagement, I pretty much, in my mind, justify, and I think it's valid, that anybody that's in an audience, like everybody that's on this webinar right now, let me use you as an example. The people that are on this webinar right now, I'm 24 minutes into this. By the time we get to 60 minutes, I will feel that I have delivered tremendous value to you. So therefore, I will feel that I am in a position to ask for a recommendation. That doesn't mean that you're going to write it for me. You might not write it for me, but I would not feel guilty in the slightest asking for it, because I would feel that I have given you the value that would justify you potentially writing a recommendation for me. So again, I'm just talking common sense here, folks. Don't ask somebody for a recommendation if they're not in a position to recommend you, okay? So when somebody does recommend you, it shows up in your newsfeed. So let me give you an example. I think that, I don't know if Consuelo, could you just type in the chat box real quick and let me know if you've ever written a recommendation for me before? I don't remember, and I apologize in advance if you have, and I've just forgotten. I apologize, but could you please write, yes, you did. Okay, so thank you. Is there anybody on this webinar this evening who has not written a recommendation for me? Okay? If you have not written a recommendation for me, type it in the chat box right now, okay? Because I think it's best if I did this live. Okay, so here's Deborah Proctor. So thank you, Deborah. So Deborah, I think you and I are connected on LinkedIn as first degree connections, okay? So let me pull up Deborah Proctor. So here's Deborah, here's beautiful Deborah down in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Okay, so here's Deborah. By way of my brain just stopped. Where are you by way of, Deborah? You're by way of, what's that place in the UK? Oh my gosh, my brain just completely stopped. Wales, that's what I was looking for, by way of Wales. So you can see that Deborah and I are first degree connections. Now, Deborah, I think, has attended a few of my free webinars and some other things that I've done. So I don't think that I'm out of line asking Deborah for a LinkedIn recommendation. So I'm going to do that right now, folks. I don't think I've done it with you before, Deborah. If I have, LinkedIn will notify me in a few seconds. So watch what I'm about to do, folks, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize my LinkedIn. I'm going to minimize my screen. I'm going to go to my LinkedIn-related folder. Now, if you're on this webinar right now and you have not already received my LinkedIn profile optimization cheat sheet and my LinkedIn templates, you want to email me. Don't send me a message on LinkedIn. Send me an email at kevin@kevinknebl.com and say, Kevin, I was on your webinar. Would you please send me your LinkedIn profile optimization cheat sheet? And will you also please send me your all your templates? So I have a LinkedIn recommendation request. Whoops, here it is. So when I pull up the LinkedIn recommendation request, why would I rewrite all this when I could just copy and paste it? So I'm going to take this template, which is one of the templates that I just told you that I would email you. If you email me my templates, you're going to get this, okay? So if I go back to LinkedIn, okay? Now here, if I want to recommend Deborah, if I'm in a position to recommend Deborah, which I'm not currently in that position to do it, because I have not used her services, but she has used mine in terms of these webinars and some other things, okay? But if I wanted to recommend Deborah, I would just go to her LinkedIn profile, I would go to this drop-down menu, and I would click recommend. And it would take me to a page where I could recommend Deborah, okay? So it's really, really simple. But let me show you how I ask for recommendations. So here's what you do. I go up to my picture in the upper right-hand corner, which is the account settings. I go down to privacy and settings, which is where I can log into my LinkedIn account. Now, recently, LinkedIn has changed this around. So it's a little bit convoluted what I'm about to show you. I actually don't use this page at all. I go down here to where it says go to previous version of settings. Then it asks me to log into my account, which it automatically does. Then I go here to where it says manage your recommendations. When I click on recommendations, that's going to take me to a page where I can ask for recommendations and I can accept recommendations. Again, I'll do this once or twice just to kind of drive it home, okay? So I can see here that I have 6 recommendations sitting in my inbox which I have not approved yet, okay? This one came earlier today. I just haven't approved it yet, okay? So here's this 1,800 recommendations on my LinkedIn profile. So I'm going to ask for a recommendation from Deborah. As you can see, there's 4,894 recommendations that I've asked for that are still out there in limbo awaiting people to respond. So when I made the comment earlier that I pretty much ask anybody that I feel is in a position to recommend me for a recommendation, well, there's almost 5,000 of people that have decided not to recommend me. I don't think that's because I'm horrible or they had a bad experience with me. I think it's because they just don't use LinkedIn enough, and they probably never even saw the recommendation request. But if I want to go see who all these people are, I could go see it. I can see that I've given 93 to other people, okay? So hopefully this is making sense, folks. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit ask for recommendations. Give it a second. Once it kind of processes for a second or two, you can ask for recommendations from up to 3 people at a time, okay? So here we go. So the first thing it asks is, Kevin, what do you want to be recommended for? When I click choose, it's going to show all of the positions in my LinkedIn profile, current and previous, and it's going to show all of the schools I've gone to, because LinkedIn doesn't know how I know Deborah. Maybe Deborah was a coworker of mine from back when I used to work at NUS, and I would want her recommendation to show up under my NUS position. Or maybe she and I went to college together, and I want the so again, you select, and I want her to write the recommendation based on my international speaker title. I can add up to 3 people. You used to be able to do this with unlimited people. LinkedIn made it a little harder last year. Now you can only ask up to 3 people at a time, but you can ask 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So once I start to type Deborah in here, LinkedIn automatically goes out to find all of the Deborahs that I'm connected to, okay? But once I start to write Proctor in here, it's going to find Deborah Claire Proctor. I put her name in there. I could do 2 more if I wanted to, but I won't, okay? And then it's going to say, what is my relationship with Deborah? I reported to Deborah. I managed Deborah. Deborah was senior to me. So it's given me a bunch of options. The best option here is that Deborah was a client of mine. That's the only thing that's the best thing that I can do. Deborah was a client of mine. And what was Deborah's position at the time? Well, it's her current position. She's a producer, okay? Then here, And this is kind of, if you've been on some of my webinars before, you've heard me say, never use the standard template that LinkedIn or any other website gives you, because it's the same as holding up a sign saying to the other person, I don't even value you enough to take 30 seconds to personalize my message. Now, I don't think that's the message you want to convey to people. So for me, one of my mantras is personalize everything, and I mean everything. The term that I came up with many years ago is high-tech, high-touch. Okay? So I use that term in many different ways in my different training programs, in my coaching, and a lot of different things that I do. So we're using a high-tech tool like LinkedIn. But if you hear what I'm saying be as high-touch as possible in a high-tech world, because you differentiate yourself from everybody else. I don't use autoresponders, folks. Some of you would disagree with me on that. Kevin, you should use autoresponders. Thank you for sharing, but I'm not going to use them. I just don't. It's not what I do. You do what you want to do. I'm not going to do that. So if you ever get a message from me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, which are the 4 platforms I play on, I can guarantee you that message came from me. It's not an autoresponder. It didn't come from my assistant, Gina. It came from me. That has opened up millions of dollars in business for my business because I'm very personal with people, okay? So I get rid of this crappy boilerplate and I put in my own boilerplate. I copy and paste it. I usually only have to change 1 or 2 words. Thanks for attending my recent free monthly LinkedIn, and then I'll just change this to webinar. I hope that you learned some things, blah, blah, blah. Would you please be so kind as to write a brief recommendation that will be posted on my LinkedIn profile, please? Perhaps please be specific in terms of a few benefits that you realize. Please let me know if I can ever assist you, blah, blah, blah. Thanks in advance for helping me out. Pure clarity, massive success, and all my contact info. I'm so nitpicky with words. And if you ever work with me privately or you hear me on stage, you'll figure out very quickly that I'm pretty nitpicky with words. I think that's part of the reason why I've done so well in sales, because I'm very, very specific with my wording. I think that asking somebody, can you recommend me, is not nearly as effective as, would you please be so kind as to take a quick minute to recommend me. So when I say be personal, folks, I'm talking be personal. I get rid of can you recommend me. Would you please be so kind as to take a quick minute to recommend me? I just personally think that the likelihood of that eliciting a favorable response is far greater than can you recommend me. Now, some people, when I teach this to them, they're like, man, you're anal retentive. Well, only if you want to, get rich. I don't know. So it works. So I'm going to take this message now, and I'm going to hit send. And that just got sent to Deborah. That doesn't mean she's going to write the recommendation. She might write a recommendation and say, this guy sucks, he's horrible, don't ever hire him, he's the devil, he's horrible, and I wouldn't post it. So let's go back here, because here I've received a new recommendation from somebody earlier today. So LinkedIn notifies me of that up here in my messaging thing. There it is. Marissa Menzel wrote me a recommendation. So now let me show you how I accept the recommendation, okay? Here's the recommendation. Last week we listened to the first of 3 webinars to be presented by Kevin. The thing I love most is that he gave us very specific suggestions/tasks that we can use. In addition, he was very enjoyable to listen to. Now notice this ask for changes. You could literally, I could click on this and say, hey Marissa, thanks so much for your recommendation. Could you change this word or could you change that word? So you actually do have the ability to go back and forth with the other person to fine tune. The reason I'm mentioning this is because I do a lot of work in the financial services industry. And most financial advisors are not allowed to have recommendations on their LinkedIn profile because it's a violation of FINRA, of the SEC. For those of you that are on the call right now that are financial advisors, and I know some of you are, you're probably thinking, man, this sucks. I wish I could get recommendations on my LinkedIn profile. Well, from what I've heard, Some FINRA-approved advisors now are actually getting LinkedIn recommendations on their LinkedIn profile, but check with your compliance department. But for those of you not in financial services, you can get as many LinkedIn recommendations as you want. So watch what I'm going to do. If she said, by the way, this guy sucks, he's horrible, I would just delete it. Actually, I wouldn't even delete it. I would just leave it in my inbox and I would never accept it. Okay? Really, really simple. Okay? So I believe that anytime somebody gives you a compliment, the polite thing to do would be to say thank you. So watch what I'm going to do again. I'm going to go back to that folder. I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to my LinkedIn recommendation thank you template. Folks, I have templates for everything. Okay? You should too. Now, I like her recommendation, so I can't see any reason why I wouldn't accept it. So let's accept it now. I'm going to hit add to profile. Give it a second. LinkedIn's thinking. Look at my lower left-hand corner here. LinkedIn's thinking. In a few seconds, it's going to show up as the newest recommendation on my LinkedIn profile. So here's Marissa. That's the newest one. But most people never even say thank you. You see, folks, when I use words like high-tech, high-touch, sometimes when I really think about what I'm doing, I'm just really helping people kind of return to a more polite, slowed down way of life. Now, maybe, these webinars that I do every month, they're on social selling and relationship marketing. But there's a lot of people that I work with outside of social selling and relationship marketing in my coaching program, and what I call my inner clarity and outer success coaching. And a lot of that is really helping people. Do some people come to me to handle a challenge or to succeed better in business? Or, traditional coaching is all around helping people set and achieve goals. And can I do that? Certainly. I can help you do that with my eyes closed. I've got the 7,000 pounds, the Mercedes-Benz. That's not hard, folks. That's easy. Money is just an echo of value. There's nothing in the world easier to make than money. Now, some of you hearing me say that right now are really pissed that I said that because you're struggling. And you're thinking, well, how could he say something like that? I can say it because I have the proof. When you figure out how to deliver value and you figure out how to find the people that would see value in what you deliver, you're done. The game is over. Okay? And it's actually a wonderful way to live life, to wake up every day and know that you can deliver the goods and that you are connected to the people that want the goods. But that's another conversation for another time. The other type of coaching that I really, really enjoy doing is not necessarily helping people correct situations in their life, which we certainly do, but it's really helping people realize a more deep, robust, joyful experience of life itself. Now, I'm very aware of how woo-woo that may sound. Deal with it, okay? But I know a lot of people who have a lot of money, and they are miserable SOBs. And I know a lot of other people who don't have much money at all, and they live wonderful, happy lives. I don't think it has to be in either or. I think you can generate plenty of income and live financially a very rewarding life, but also have a deep, robust, dynamic, loving, joyful experience of life. And that's what I really like helping people do. So I guess where I was going with all that is that a lot of people nowadays in our super fast-paced world have kind of lost some of that etiquette, or what I call, politeness. And online, I call it internet etiquette or internetiquette. Well, I'm a big believer that if somebody gives you a compliment, I think the polite thing to do would be to say thank you. She just gave me a really nice compliment, so I'd like to say thank you. I click on Marissa's name. I go to her profile. She's a financial advisor in Wisconsin. And I hit send a message. Hang on one second. One more second. Whoops, I'm hitting buttons too fast. Hang on, folks. Bear with me. Here's Marissa. I'm going to hit send a message. There's what I want. And now I'm going to paste in the message. I'm going to change the first name to Marissa because she probably doesn't want to be called Bob. So we're going to call her Marissa. I don't need to change one single word in this. Hi, Marissa. Thanks for your very kind LinkedIn recommendation. I really appreciate it. Please let me know if I can ever assist you with my principles, strategies, and routines in terms of creating, nurturing, and deepening biz relationships, which lead to huge revenue and a greater appreciation and enjoyment of life, or if I could ever serve you in any other way. To your clarity and massive success, Kev, all my contact information. I typed T in here. Thanks for your kind recommendation. And we are good to go. So once I have that, everything looks good. Send. She's probably going to appreciate that, which will deepen my relationship with her. Somebody type in the chat box and let me know that this is making sense. Okay? So that's the process. I ask for LinkedIn recommendations from people whom I believe are in a position to recommend me. I'll do one more just to drive this home. Is there anybody else on this webinar who has not written me a LinkedIn recommendation who is a first-degree connection to me on LinkedIn? If so, type it in the chat box now so that I can just, because I think if you see it more than once, it'll be easier to kind of remember the steps that I use, because I do it fast and I kind of make it look really simple, but I've been doing this every day for 13 years. So, Stephen Patterson. So I'm going to use Stephen Patterson as an example, because I don't think that I've asked Stephen Patterson. Because if you've asked the person for a recommendation already, LinkedIn will tell you, sorry, you've already asked this person. Okay? So I'm going to ask Stephen Patterson. So let me just pull up Stephen Patterson's profile. So here's Stephen Patterson, which, by the way, you can look at somebody's profile and see who they've recommended too. If we go down to recommendations, we can see he's given 6 recommendations, and he gave me one already. There it is. So he thanked me back on December 1st. So I can't use him as an example because he's already given me a recommendation. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it. Okay. So I can actually see that. Another person is Kevin Tracy. I think Kevin Tracy is somebody that's on this call who has not written me a recommendation yet. So here's Kevin Tracy. Is this you, Kevin? Are you on the call? Okay. So so let's go down. Let's see if he's written me one. So I go down here. See, these are the problems you have when you have 1,800 recommendations. You can't remember who wrote it, right? So that's kind of sarcastic. So here's Given. He gave me one. There it is. Stephen, you wrote me a recommendation back in 2014. This is great. This is actually just proving everything that I'm teaching you folks tonight. It's proving that I ask people for recommendations that I feel are in a position to recommend me. Right? This is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay? Ben Freeman. Let's try and use Ben Freeman. Ben Freeman. So here's Ben Freeman. There he is. He's a speaker in Castle Rock. Has Ben recommended me? Let's go look at Ben. He has received 2 and he's never given any. Okay? So he has not recommended me yet. So I could ask him for a recommendation. So let's minimize my screen. Bear with me, folks. I'm just juggling screens here. Let's minimize my screen. Let's go back to my LinkedIn recommendation request. Oops, wrong one. LinkedIn recommendation request template. Copy. I go back to LinkedIn. I go to cursor in the upper right-hand corner. I go to privacy and settings. I go to use previous version of settings. I log in. I click on Manage Your Recommendations. It'll take a few seconds to pull up that page again. Okay. Just bear with me, folks. There it is. I go to Ask for Recommendations. I'm going to ask for the recommendations. It's thinking. Give it a second. It takes a couple seconds. I don't know if it takes a couple seconds because I've got so many that it's trying to churn through. I'm not quite sure why. It always takes a couple seconds. What do I want to be recommended for? I want to be recommended for what I'm doing right now, international speaker, author, trainer, coach. I'm going to type in Ben Freeman. So when I type in Ben, it's going to pull up all my Bens. Then I start to type in Freeman. There's Ben Freeman. What's my relationship with Ben? The closest thing to what my relationship is Ben is a client. What's his position? He's a professional speaker. I get rid of this boilerplate. I put in my own. I change a couple words. My recent free monthly LinkedIn webinar. I get rid of this. Can you recommend me? I change that to, would you please be so kind as to take a quick minute to recommend me. I look it over, everything looks groovy, we look good. Copy my little smiley face again. Everything looks great. And I send it to Ben. There it goes. So Ben is somebody, he's number 4895, waiting for some kind of a response back, okay? So folks, has this made sense so far? Somebody type in the chat box. This is how you ask for recommendations. I already showed you how you give them. You pull up the person's link. If I was in a position to recommend Ben, I go to Ben's profile, I go to this drop-down arrow, and I click recommend. Then it's going to ask me, how do you know Ben? It's going to show me the same page you saw a few moments ago. How do you know Ben? I was a client of Ben. Ben was a client of mine. Whatever you want, and then you can write the recommendation. So I think the recommendation feature is really, really handy. I would strongly encourage you to get at least a dozen or 24 recommendations on your LinkedIn profile, because I think probably 90% of the people on LinkedIn have less than 20 recommendations, like Ben here. Ben, I'm sure, is very, let's talk about Ben like you can't hear me, okay? I'm sure Ben is really, really good at what he does. But if we go and look at his LinkedIn profile, more than likely he probably has less than 20 recommendations, okay? I think he has 0. Now, again, I'm not being critical of Ben. What I'm really saying is Ben is worth, he's worth recommendations, right? So, oh, here we go. He's got 2. Right? Actually, he's got 1 because this person didn't even write anything. Okay, this person, Ben, is an expert, blah blah blah. So, but I gotta believe, out of these 371 people, Ben, you've got a lot of people that are probably in a position to write about the good experiences they've had with you, if you were to reach out to them in a way that wasn't slick or salesy or whatever. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, folks. Okay, and many of you were typing in the chat box that this is making a lot of sense. So I think once you get like up over 20, 30, 40 recommendations, you might want to do what I'm doing. In my profile, in my headline, I actually have 18. So this here, I want people to see that, right? That's a lot of recommendations. I want them to see that right out of the gate. So I put it right in my headline, because that, for people that use LinkedIn, that is definitely an attention getter. You're telling me this guy has 1,800 individually handwritten client testimonials? That's exactly what I'm telling you. And there they are, okay? And there's over 1,700 of them. You want to see more? Get a cup of coffee and take the next 2 days off of work, because it's going to take you about 2 days to read them all, okay? So again, I'm just playing, folks. But folks, if anybody has any question as to whether or not I can deliver the goods, I just say, you might want to go look at my LinkedIn profile, because there's some people that have said a couple nice things about me. And if I say nice things about me, I come across as a cocky jerk. But if you read, let's just, like, watch what I'm doing, folks. I am just going eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm just going up and down. I'll just stop wherever my cursor stops. I recently heard Kevin speak at the new Denver LinkedIn presentation. His thoughts and advice were great. To be honest, until I heard Kevin present, I hadn't thought about the importance of getting salvo out in a role. Great fit. At the beginning of his talk, he made the comment that if someone is cutting your paycheck, your roles, that stuck a core with me. Importance of building relationships. You never know how. So this is glowing, right? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I attended Kevin's blah, 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 blah. I added it. So again, you would never post a recommendation on your LinkedIn profile where the person didn't say something nice about you. So that's LinkedIn recommendations. I think it's really important. Let's go to endorsements. Now, endorsements it's a relatively new feature in the last couple of years. Personally, I'm not crazy about this LinkedIn feature, but I have no control over that. So you can have up to 50 different skills listed on your LinkedIn profile. If I go up here to the top to profile and I hit edit profile, and then I go back down to the endorsements, I currently have 48 different skills on my LinkedIn profile. Actually, and what I'm about to tell you is going to sound really crazy when I tell you this, I didn't pick any of these. I didn't pick a single one. All of these were picked by other people that were just endorsing me without me ever even asking for it. But you can specifically go in and add a skill. If I want to be recommended for plumbing, I could put plumbing in there, right? And now people would see, oh, I can endorse him for plumbing, right? These 48 skills, because you can have up to 50 total. These 48 skills are skills that people of their own volition, without any coaxing from me like I do on the recommendations, these people just went in. So here, if I say I want to manage my endorsements, you can see that over 1,352 people have recommended me for social networking, over 1,200 for social media marketing. So I can see how many people have endorsed me in every single category if I wanted to, okay? So, and I can see who all the people are. I can hide them if I want to. I can remove a category if it's inappropriate. Like if somebody endorsed me for plumbing, I would remove that because I don't know anything about plumbing, okay? So you can choose what categories you want to add, and you can add them. You can, here, I want to include me in the endorsement suggestions to my connection. Yes. Show me suggestions to endorse my connections. Yes. Send me notifications via email when my connections endorse me. Yes. Because every one of those things, I believe, is an engagement opportunity. Now, if you've ever heard me on stage or worked with me privately or anything like that, you've heard me use the word engagement many times. Engagement is nothing more than a $5 word for conversation. That's all it is, folks. So anytime somebody endorses me, clicks the like button on something I post, whatever, those are all opportunities for me to open up conversations. And as long as I'm not slick or salesy, which I'm not, then I can nurture a relationship out of a conversation. You see, folks, if you were to really put a gun to my head and say, Kev, what is it you really do? You might think that I would answer that, oh, I'm a LinkedIn specialist, or I'm a social selling and relationship marketing specialist. And I guess to some degree I am. But that's not really what I think I do. What I really think I do is I help people create conversations that lead to relationships in business. That's really what I do. Because I don't care how good you are at what you do for a living. If you can't create a conversation, notice I'm not using the word sales pitch. If you can't create a conversation with someone who's in a position to hire you or refer you, it really doesn't matter how good you are at what you do for a living, because you're Tom Hanks on an island somewhere with a volleyball named Wilson. I'm sure Tom Hanks did a really good job working for FedEx in the movie Castaway, but when he was on an island with a volleyball, it really didn't matter. And that's where most people are in business. Most people in business, I get phone calls, emails, letters every single day. Kevin, I need more clients. I need more referrals. I need more engagements. I need a job. I need this. I need that. And because I'm so simple, God gave me such a simple mind. I used to think it was a liability. I've come to realize it's an asset. Because I have such a simple mind, when I hear a person start a sentence with I need, they just stop right there. Because no matter what comes after I need, I already know what they need. What they need is they need to create a conversation with the people that are either in a position to deliver whatever they think they need, or with someone who knows somebody that's in a position to deliver whatever they think they need. Folks, it's no more complicated than that. Life is simple and life is beautiful when you figure out how simple it is. So if I can help somebody create conversations, which I can do with my eyes closed, if I can help people identify their best prospects, clients, networking and strategic alliances, networking partners and strategic alliances, almost down to eye color, which I can do with my eye closed using LinkedIn, well, then all I have to do is just show them how to open up non-salesy conversations. Folks, the hardest thing that most people struggle with when they start to work with me, it's nothing that's coming from me that they struggle with. The hardest thing that most people have to struggle with is their own commission breath. Most people are so aggressive in their sales and marketing, but they don't realize they are. And they do it innocently. Nobody gets up in the morning saying, I'm going to be a jerk and a scumbag out there in the world of business. But they're kind of trained to do that, right? And I could teach you all the strategies in the world to create sincere, authentic, heart-centered conversations with people. But if you don't come from a place of sincerity, authenticity, and heart-centeredness, there's going to be a learning curve. Because what most people are looking for is they're looking for strategies. And what I'm talking about is something much deeper. It's never about the doing. It's about the being. people come to me all the time and they say, Kevin, I need to learn to use LinkedIn the way you use it. And on one hand, they're right, but on the other hand, they're not right, because I know something they don't know. If they're not coming from the right place philosophically, spiritually, and I don't mean that in any way religiously, I don't care what your faith is, but if they don't come from a place where they sincerely take a deep, sincere interest in people, then no amount of strategy is going to help them. And that's the fundamental problem. That's the 900-pound elephant in the middle of the room that almost everybody misses. They think, I need to learn a new Facebook strategy or a new LinkedIn strategy. Not necessarily. You just need to go back to being the way you were when you were a little kid. When you looked at somebody that had a ball and you were like, let's go play, you didn't ask them what color they were, or what kind of car their daddy drove, or how much money their mommy made. You showed up as a sincere, authentic, heart-centered person that wanted to play ball. Well, all I do, and I know this is getting very woo-woo, but deal with it. I get up every day, and I just remember that my success is completely dependent upon my ability to show up 100% as the sincere, authentic, heart-centered person that God made. When I do that, and I combine that with whatever the skill set is I need for my current job, I'm a mosquito in a nudist colony of opportunity. It is high cotton in every direction, folks, because most people don't show up that way in the world of business. And when you do, it is truly a breath of fresh air. Now, you can also rearrange these. I can move the order around, blah, blah, blah. It maxes out at 99. You already saw that I have over 1,300 people that endorse me for this, but it just shows 99. But when somebody goes and looks at my LinkedIn profile and they see 99, 99, 99, they kind of go, wow, this guy must know something, right? So I guess that's good, but I really don't care. What's much more important to me are the recommendations, because the recommendations, somebody could, hey, Kevin can chew gum and walk at the same time. Let's endorse him for that. That doesn't hold a candle to, I heard Kevin, he rocked my world, blah, blah. That's a whole different world. So I'm going to make an offer now. Don't get off the webinar. As I'm making this offer, type in the chat box and let me know if this has been helpful this evening. Have you learned some things this evening that you can use in your personal and professional life? Have you learned some things about LinkedIn recommendations, about social proof, about actually letting people see that you are good at what you do and you can deliver the goods without you having to say it? Okay, so people are typing very nice words in the chat box. So let's go to kevinknebl.com. Let's go to my website. If you go to kevinknebl.com, if you're not already subscribed to my newsletter, please feel free to subscribe to my newsletter. It comes out once a week and it's full of tips to help you in your business and in your life. Okay? So please feel free to subscribe to my newsletter. And if you want to go back and look through a couple hundred other newsletters full of content, go look at my newsletter archive. There's tons of content. As far as my products go, I want to make a special offer to you. When people go to my website, there is a 4-hour streaming video program, 2 hours on LinkedIn, 2 hours on Twitter. It is streaming video, which means you can watch it forever until the end of time. It's always evergreen. I update the videos about every 6 months to reflect the newest features and functions. And again, you can watch it as many times as you want. You will be emailed the login and a password immediately when you process the credit card. And you can access those videos from anywhere on earth for the rest of your life, anywhere with an internet connection. This 4-hour program on my website is $197. I'm going to direct you to another website in a few seconds where the price gets reduced. But on my website, it's $197, and to be quite frank, it's a steal, because it wouldn't be hard for you to earn that back or make 100 times that if you were to use the information that I teach, like so many other people have. About a year ago, I went back into the studio and I started recording what I thought was initially going to be a 9-hour program. It ended up being 17 hours, okay? There is no other program that I'm aware of on earth that goes into the nooks and crannies and the depth of understanding that this program does. It's a 17-hour program on social selling and relationship marketing mastery. It starts with an hour on what is social selling and relationship marketing. then 9 hours on how to use LinkedIn most effectively, then 4 hours on how to use Twitter, then 3 hours on my high-tech, high-touch relationship marketing system, which is, by the way, the most profitable thing I've ever taught and probably ever will teach. This system right here is how I manage my business to be at 99% by invitation and referral-only business. This alone, this 3 hours here alone is worth the price of the entire program, which you get 17 hours. The investment for this is $997. Similar to the other program, it's accessible from anywhere on earth with an internet connection, and I update the videos about every 6 months. So that $997 is a steal. Now, for those of you watching this video right now or on the call live, I'm going to make you aware of a different page, and this is a unique opportunity for you. If you go to kevinknebl.com/special offer, that 4-hour program goes from $197 to $147. So I take a significant amount off. The 17-hour program goes from $997 to $497. It's a 50% reduction in the investment. Notice I didn't use the word price, okay? Because it's an investment in your success. These programs have helped many people generate millions and millions of dollars in revenue, referrals, client engagements, strategic alliances. So I just wanted to make you aware, if you're interested in deepening your understanding in what I teach, if you go to kevinknebl.com/special offer, you can have my 4-hour program, which you can watch until the end of time 1,000,000 times. You get updated videos every 6 months for a one-time investment of $147. Check your spam folder, because the moment you hit add to cart and you process the credit card, you will automatically be emailed the login and password, and sometimes it goes in people's spam folders, so watch your spam folder. Or if you really want the whole enchilada, and folks, this is the best program on earth for social selling and relationship marketing mastery, 17 hours for $497. Now, I'm going to stop the recording in about 30 seconds. For those of you that are live on the call right now, don't jump off the call, because the offer I'm about to make in a few seconds, I don't want this offer on the video. It's a very, very special offer just for you. But for those of you in the future that are watching this video, I hope this has been helpful. I hope you've learned a lot about how to use LinkedIn's recommendation and endorsement feature. And we're going to end the video for you right now. But for the rest, for everybody else, you want to stay on the call. For those of you that were leaving, please feel free to reach out to me at kevin@kevinknebl.com, or go to kevinknebl.com, send me a LinkedIn invitation, whatever you want. Follow me on Facebook or Twitter. I'll follow you back. I would love to help you in any way if I can. So we're going to say bye-bye to all those folks. We'll see you next month in my next free webinar. Everybody else, hang on.